All right. So I guess I'm gonna be chairing since Councilor Ray is not here. So we'll go ahead and call a personnel committee meeting to order for this May 20th, 2026. Let's see, roll call. Well, there's myself, Dan Sheets, and then Councilor Williams.
Here.
All right, thank you. And we have TJ and we have Dawn here in the room with me.
Yes.
So there's that. And then I guess we're gonna go ahead and dive right in to discussion on contracted landscape services at the library.
Correct. So as you know, the library, Roger Irving called and touched base about having some issues keeping up with some of that. We want to start doing some contracted services. Mark says he has the time. There will be some. Hold on. Looks like Brian is able to join.
Oh, are you?
Hey, can you hear me?
Hey, you did it.
I was able to join.
Hey, that's
I'm
great.
impressed.
Thanks for joining.
Nice. Can you see the
Just gotta-
screen too?
Yeah, sort of. It's small on my phone, but I just had to fiddle with it a little bit. And finally, I don't know if it wasn't ready to join at the time I tried to join or what, but I'm here. Let's get her.
Sweet. Excellent. We were just talking about contracted landscape services.
Okay.
2 hours a week for Mark's guys to do some mowing and weed whacking around the library. Gentleman who
Okay.
helped get the library started, Roger, he's requesting that. Dawn, you got comments on this? I've had a conversation with Mark and feel that it's a good request, and he's on board with it. What are your thoughts, Dawn?
Correct. The only thing we really don't know right now, I mean, we may want to charge, I don't know if we're gonna do it per time or just charge for Mark's time, assuming that could be the case, because there's a huge, there's a huge fluctuation between his wage and one of the public works positions.
Yeah.
So that's one thing we have to keep in mind. Also, wear and tear on equipment as well as the fuel considerations. And we really aren't gonna have a good gauge on this until they do it the first time. I think did they do it for the festival?
They went over there and they weed whacked it, I think.
Okay.
Yeah.
So until they do this the first time, I really don't know that we're gonna have a good estimate of what it's going to truly cost us.
That's fair. What I was going to recommend here is, so they're asking for 8 hours a month essentially, and that's during the time of year where we're going to have significant growth during the wintertime that tapers down. I'd recommend looking at market rate and charging them simply market rate for doing the work. It's what they would pay if they went out to a firm or a company to come and do it, but they have reliability through the city. If the personnel committee is on board with the idea, what I'd recommend we do is because we're entering into budget, I'd recommend bringing it to the budget committee for a consideration at, I think, a reasonable price.
Now I know that Mark did reach out to Roger and he wasn't wanting to disclose what they were paying previously because Roger was under the impression we'd be doing it at cost. So that is one thing, a conversation that occurred as well.
Got it. Oh, that's right. Thank you for mentioning that. Mark did mention that was his hope. So that we could look at doing it at cost, but I'll defer back to the point that we don't know what that is. Even if we do it a little bit, we're not going to be able to extract out costs exactly there. What we could do is ballpark and estimate and roundabout, but without knowing what they're paying right now, and they're coming as a favor, they are asking for staff time. Maybe I could reach out to Roger, or Mayor, you could reach out to Roger if you'd like and get a better sense of what he's hoping for. That would be my response to that.
There's history around this, and I am not a fan, to be perfectly honest with you, especially at cost. If you want to talk market value, then I would be open to exploring that, but not any other option for me.
Where I'm landing on that too, because it's just hard for us to estimate what at cost actually means for mowing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
There's a lot of variances there and it's just.
I mean, is cost just the labor and the fuel or what? I mean, I'm not sure what that is.
This is also
And
time
it's-
that we'd be spending on that project instead of,
Right.
Exactly. It's at a time where we have public works is needed elsewhere. That's more of a priority.
That was my first question for Mark is, do you have the capacity to do this? And I think, Mark really wants to just help people. That's his, I love that about him and his personality. He felt like, yeah, we could do this. Absolutely. But I did question that. And I do wonder about that given some of the things we'll be doing with the water plant and other stuff.
Mhm.
Well, if
So my-
Go ahead, Councilor.
I was gonna say my two cents is you get the cost from whatever yard care supplier it is, and the cost from the city. You go with, and from what I've seen, even with like our union stuff and our stuff and things, it's a higher value because you have wear and tear on equipment for one, not just fuel, and not just labor.
True.
That's exactly right, sir. What are your thoughts, Mayor Sheets? You know Roger personally.
Well, I know, yeah, I mean, I understand their perspective. Obviously, they have they have budget constraints, I'm sure, over there as well. I mean, I can talk to Roger, but let him know, I mean, we can't give this away. We have to be able to cover our costs and, like Councilor Ray was saying, wear and tear, on our machinery. So I mean, I will go ahead and talk to Roger and see where he's at and come back. And I also do agree with Councilor Williams. I don't want to do it just at cost. If they go anywhere else, they're going to be paying more. So, I mean, you're paying for convenience, in my opinion. So you might as well just pay market, and we basically will we'll show up basically whenever market squeeze you in. So, I mean, let me talk to Roger.
am I,
That
Agreed.
sounds good.
is this just it's temporary, correct?
Well, so it would be temporary for they're asking for help now because they're kind of drowning, and I think what they're hoping to do is let their costs drop off from their market service, which means then they're kind of latched to us for help and need, and then the goal and the hope is to then have some sort of agreement set up. I told Mark that that's not something that we can do until I had buy-in on the whole package from the personnel committee. I had forgotten, to be quite honest with you, that he had mentioned that cost piece. I sort of just wrote it off because I had already been thinking market rate the whole time, but that's what they're trying to get out from under. So I'll be honest, they probably won't want to do a lateral move.
So there also is another piece to this that I failed to mention. So they are looking at taking all the grass out over there and doing, no grass. And, making it very minimalistic over there. I don't know if they're gonna put rock down or what they're gonna do, but their point is they wanna get away from having to mow it and maintain it like it is now. So this definitely is gonna be a temporary thing, but I don't know when they're implementing their landscaping project, which is something I can ask Roger.
Also, I know that there's another piece to this. The current person they paid to do the work is not showing and doing the work.
Yes, that's correct.
Oh, I did not catch that detail.
Yes.
Yeah, and that was just in passing that I've heard that. I think I had overheard his and Roger and Mark's conversation over the phone. It's a local business that's notorious for not showing.
Yeah, actually,
Well, sir-
a former city councilor has tried to use their services before too, and same results, unfortunately.
Got it. Well, sir, it sounds like you could have a chat, and
Yeah.
if this was something that you wanted to bring to the the full council for a consideration, if you liked the idea, you could, but I don't know. We'd have to know more.
Yeah,
Definitely.
Yeah, and another thing too, I'll talk to Roger and I can bring it back. We could also have Roger come to a council meeting and answer questions too.
Okay, I'm gonna get. Are we ready to move on to the next topic?
Yeah, so we've got, let's see. Let's see, we talked about that. I'm assuming that, so we've talked about the 2 hours of staff time for mowing, weed whacking and leaf blowing. The next item is equipment and fuel considerations. Same thing. Yeah.
It was.
Okay. Okay, so we'll move on now to position descriptions, budgeted changes and staffing. And the first item here is public works assistant, 0.5 FTE.
I'm going to ask the committee to let me rearrange those a little bit because I've ordered them really in a way that's more logical for the discussion. That's just what's
Okay.
listed, the sub bullets anyway. This is about the position descriptions, but they won't go exactly in that order, just so you
Okay.
know.
Gotcha.
Quick check that everyone can see this okay, online as well as in person?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And I'll walk through it to just, piece by piece conversation. So feel free to stop me on a slide if I've got a question or want to drill into it a little bit. So the purpose of what we're doing or what we're proposing here, same as we've discussed for a while, operational sustainability and efficiency. We're trying to improve that. Align responsibilities with staff strengths. Want to maintain some continuity, strong continuity in planning and infrastructure. That is really the bullseye goal for me in particular right now. Both new planning projects as well as our big projects. We want to increase some administrative redundancy. So we're not relying on single positions or individuals who have the only knowledge, like for example, editing a website or entering the piece of data. And really the big thing here is to support long-term financial stability. As you all know, I've spent the last really 2+ weeks being just nose deep in the budget. And a lot of what I've learned in that process really supports that statement about financial stability. And I think we've done something that I think is going to help out a lot. So first off, city administrator role. So the focus of the city administrator role would really land on planning and land development first and foremost. So new planning applications, that includes subdivisions, and anything having to do with projects that are submitted by citizens or people who own land. Infrastructure and capital projects, and I'll go into a little bit of detail on each of these too. Policy guidance, that's something we'll unpack. Grant writing and management, as well as finance and budget oversight. So this shrinks down a pretty significant amount of what I've been doing thus far into really the core pieces that I really need to be focusing on. So planning and land development, I'm estimating my time at around 0.25 FTE, so maybe 40 hours a month. Again, land use applications, development review, so making sure that applications comply with our land use code, with county requirements, state requirements, and federal requirements, and process all of the required paperwork to do that. Planning commission coordination and attendance, so that means, of course, coordinating projects, making sure applicants are present, and doing as I have with presenting the projects with staff reports. That also means interpreting and implementing code within the city's land use code and comprehensive plan, as well as issuing administrative planning decisions that are assigned to the planner in the charter, as well as planning decisions that are made by planning commission. In terms of capital infrastructure and projects, I separated that from planning intentionally. That's really a separate, really 25 hours a month, roughly. Lead water, wastewater, and street system planning. So this is that long range, high level, what we're doing, where we're doing it, how much it costs, why, and what we get out of that. That requires coordination with our engineers, our contractors, that includes Chuck, for example, and our partner agencies. A lot of them we've already coordinated with closely over this past year. Big ones, of course, and we don't need to belabor this. We've talked a lot about these projects: the 1135 dam removal, water treatment plant and system upgrades, wastewater treatment plant and system upgrades, and really the 5-point plan that I've presented to you all and to the community. This would also be project sequencing and implementation. It's a core component of the infrastructure plan that I presented. And the piece of this that I think is really critical to point out is public works compliance. So ensuring that I'm supporting public works with that high level compliance requirements from OHA and DEQ on things that we must do, like for example, spending the $1.5 million and making sure that we're implementing the feasibility study that our engineer we bring on will tell us to do. Another roughly 25 hours a month is in policy guidance. This really points at both planning and capital projects. But again, this is separate because I want to be sure that you're understanding where my vision changes from things we're doing right now to this, which is long range planning. That system level decision making, like for example, if we expand our UGB, where and why, advising council on land use, infrastructure and capital investments. For example, why might you sell a piece of property? Why might you not sell a piece of property for your long range vision? And the big piece of this, which is updating our comprehensive plan, making sure our development code is aligned with that comprehensive plan, ensuring our transportation system plan aligns with our capital improvement plan that we need to complete this year, and overlay updates like Riverfront, for example. So while those are related to planning and capital, they're really separate exercises that I've assigned a separate, really 25 hours a month towards really thinking through what it's going to mean to do that work. And then about 15, 16 hours a month, I would expect to spend for things like grants and management of those grants. So that includes coming up with and developing our capital funding strategy. In addition to our own money, where else is the money coming from? Federal grants and state grants are the big ones. There are other sources of money as well. That's part of the responsibility. Coordination of funding opportunities. So once we decide what we're applying for, coordinating those, the timeline, that's a lot of what you saw with the strategic plan that I presented, and visual that shows you where grants line up on different months and how we'll be doing that. That would also include, of course, preparing and submitting those grant applications to the funders. And then once you get the grant, the work of tracking that grant and reporting on it on a quarterly basis usually means a little report, an update to a spreadsheet. Those would be 100% my responsibilities to ensure we're compliant on all of our projects, especially since most of them are infrastructure. And then we have finance and budget oversight. This is light as well because it allows me to really focus on the key pieces that we need in place to meet audit requirements, separation of duties, as well as providing oversight and partnership to our accounting specialist, Dawn, who does a lot of this work on a daily basis. And we'll talk about her position in a minute. But my job only would be weekly finance batches. So right now, taking a weekly review of accounts payable, accounts receivable, mostly accounts payable, and coding in cooperation with the accounting specialist. So where is the money getting assigned to within the budget? Now that we've drafted the budget and we've planned it out, where does each expense get billed to so that we execute the budget the way that it's been designed? Signatures and approvals. So that means looking at the recommended location, for example, where something should be coded to, approving an expenditure, again, those requirements that are there by audit and just by good practice, having that additional approval process. And then budget development and management, that's really what I've been doing over the last couple of weeks. It's the where are we shifting funds? Why are we shifting funds? How are we thinking long range on the budget? Why are we keeping this amount in contingency or not? Where are our capital projects getting billed to? Things like that. So on an annual basis, the role would include really crafting and designing the architecture of the budget, of why it's there and what we're doing. Again, hand in hand with the accounting specialist to figure out what costs are going to be. Like, for example, we did a lot of work together over the last couple of months predicting how much we're going to spend on lots of different things. And some of the things in the budget we increased by 1.3%. Other things we actually were able to calculate. Other things we increased by inflation. So we'll talk about that during budget committee. I wanted to just make sure you knew there was like a break here, because I'll pivot over to finance specialist next. Any questions about the city administrator role with really the 5 buckets?
So total hours a week would be 30? Or
Yes, on a weekly basis, 120 a month, 30 a week.
TJ, I do have a quick question, on
Yep.
2 different pieces, just because they're kind of, outstanding, or I don't know if maybe I'll clarify one of them, next slide. So as far as, I know we have our HR audit that's due in July. I only know certain pieces of that. Will I get assistance with that sort of thing as well?
Yeah,
I'm
absolutely.
not sure
So
what
I will.
the answers are, at 100% certainty.
You and I still are going to be meeting before the new budget year, before July 1, in preparation of that meeting with the HR folks. That is the meeting where you're going to really download all the information necessary to understand the HR pieces. Allow me to get onto these. When we get onto your position and the other positions, you'll see how I've distributed different tasks. What's the second one, by the way, Dawn? That was the HR one.
So the city recorder piece, specifically, running the meetings, making sure we're meeting public meeting law, because that's a big piece in itself.
Yep. So city recorder really has a couple of functions, like you said, running meetings. I've got that also. City recorder doesn't run meetings specifically, by the way. They're responsible for setting the agenda. They're responsible for ensuring that the website is updated, for example. And the big thing is simply attesting to documents like resolutions. So in reality, it's more of a signature piece. But I'll show you this. That falls into our assistant 2 role much more closely. And you'll see how you have oversight over a lot of that in collaboration, of course, with me, but that is largely something that we distribute out.
Okay, thank you.
And by the way, it's helpful to know a lot of cities they have a city recorder by name, but that person is essentially an assistant or like a finance specialist or some kind of other role, because it's not a role that entails a significant amount of hours per week. It's really just hitting the things you're talking about there.
Okay. Yeah, thank you for clarifying that.
Yeah. Any questions from committee members?
No?
Stuff I'm good.
I'm good.
So one thing I want to draw your attention to is right at the bottom of the page. The biggest, not financial change to the budget, but maybe the biggest structural change and publicly visible change to the budget is the proposed removal of the court. There's a couple reasons for this, and budget committee will get to hear the nitty gritty, but one is that it's challenging for us to confirm that we're receiving all of the funds that we should be receiving. That's hard to track down. Number two is just given the funds that we are receiving, we're running at about a $2,000 deficit. The court, if you include just what we're accounting for in the budget. And over the last several months, I've been asking Dawn to track her time that she's spending because it does add up. There's little minutes and sections of the day here and there to take care of things as it pops up, so it's not nothing on top of what we have in the budget. So this also returns very valuable FTE and hours in Dawn's day that can be used on really essential city services, especially since we're a city trying to get over a threshold in terms of where we're getting for the future, infrastructure-wise, policy-wise, a lot of things we're doing right now. So you'll hear more about that next week in terms of a budget sense, but in terms of a structural sense, hourly sense, any questions from this committee or thoughts?
No, I know that, Don and I have talked about the court for, my gosh, at least a year now. And gone back and forth about it, so. No, it's good that we're talking about it again.
There's
Well,
also,
you know, I got-
there's also a piece to that. There's annual trainings. I'm doing the bare minimum right now. To sufficiently do that role, it would entail a lot more training to do it properly.
Other thoughts from the committee?
My thoughts are a discussion for another day around whether we're getting our money's worth on actually, like you got there, the court clerk, or we're not getting any ticket or, very little ticket money. And actually what the sheriff department is actually benefiting us with all the hours we pay them.
Oh, yes,
We need to review that.
agreed.
Especially
Yeah.
now that they have a resource officer per se, Savage, so in the area. So we need to revisit this.
Okay.
So if we take the court clerk duties away, are we saying that Dawn will get back an hour per week?
Oh, I don't know about that. Dawn, what do you think?
So Councilor Williams, it really does vary. On a court month, it could be upwards of 2 hours or more. There are certain I have to send out letters to people that are not paying on their court payments. I mean, it requires a lot of babysitting in between court.
see.
And then reaching out to somebody else to pull the documents because we have never gotten our lead certification so that we can pull our own records. So we're heavily reliant on the county right now to do those record pulls for us. We aren't even properly operating it, to be honest. And there's a huge variation of what amount of time it could take me to do the paperwork involved with that, especially if we have court. We're pulling a lot of records. The judge wants me to send a letter to an attorney. I mean, there's a lot of variables.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
I think you're spending between maybe 10 to 12 hours a month. That's my just kind of guess from peering and listening, watching, having you track your data. I think that's a lot if you think about it in the longer scheme of things, which is why I'm thinking. What I'm not hearing, which is nice from the committee, is I'm not hearing anybody say, wait, hold on, keep the court. So I feel comfortable bringing that to council. It might be difficult for Dawn to let go of the court.
Oh, no.
No, I know it's
Maybe
going to
just
be.
but not the court.
It'll be tough. It'll be a tough one.
Yeah. That's fun to talk with him.
All right.
Do we know, TJ, you probably have to look it up because I can't remember. Our agreement with the Benton County Sheriff's Office, I want to say we renew it every 2 years. Yeah.
That's
Correct.
what it was last time I
Yeah.
remember.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. You renewed
It's
it
like-
as a city like a month before I came on board. It's a 2-year contract.
Okay. All right. So we also in November Sheriff Van Arsdale's not running to be sheriff again in November, so we're gonna have a new sheriff, so I don't know. We might have an opportunity to have a different new conversation as well. We're not necessarily with court, but maybe with our agreement and what we're getting for our money's worth.
That's fair. And I think having the discussion about, hey, we're getting rid of the court, we owe it to them to let them know that. And that opens up a very necessary discussion about what you're mentioning here, I think.
Yeah.
Agreed.
So we'll pivot to the remaining pieces here. So what I've done is I've kept a lot of core pieces that Don is already doing. I see someone else is trying. I think I hear someone else is trying to get into the meeting.
Got disconnected.
Okay, give me 1 second. I'm gonna let him back in. I guess.
There we go.
There we go.
I got kicked out for a second for some reason.
Getting in trouble? No, I'm kidding.
Nope, I'm good.
Nice, buddy.
All right. So, budget tracking, financial operations like accounts payable, accounts receivable, reporting. Don would continue to do that, but have more of an oversight role. Utility billing management. So the ability to make decisions on accounts and have final authority on that before it goes to council. Currently, that's 100% my decision. Mayor Sheets, you well know, and there's no need to talk about specific accounts, but you all know that there have been really a handful of accounts that have taken a significant amount of time over the past year to make decisions that really are things that you can arrive at with standard logical process and communication and writing the document or doing the thing that's needed.
I think one of those
What?
has been resolved since they sold their building, so.
Day-to-day administrative coordination. So, handling things that come up in City Hall, whether it be the tractor rolled over, which Don and Mark were able to handle well. I step in, of course, when it becomes a budget, policy, legal, insurance issue. But day-to-day administrative coordination would live with Don, and it includes directing staff to do something that needs to get done right now, or by the end of the week, for example. Payroll. So that would be processing the ADP payroll that I process now. Staff coordination, make sure you've got your hours in. Record keeping, Don already owns a piece of that project now. Everything that gets printed out gets included in the record keeping and what gets reported to council. A piece of the city recorder role is a big piece of city recorder role is record retention. So responsibility for record retention, notices, and elections, and delegating to staff and ensuring that when they do their jobs, they're following proper policies for record retention, that notices are going out accurately, as well as things like managing elections, public records requests. So when people ask for information on basic city work, this is something that I would obviously need to be involved in. I have been involved in every step, but this would be something that Don would be responsible kind of as the manager for coordinating. Coordination with myself and personnel committee on HR matters. And so this ties into day-to-day administrative coordination. If something comes up, if there's an incident or an HR matter that needs to be referred to the personnel committee or needs to be addressed in real time, Don needs to be empowered to be able to handle that issue, have the HR training and knowledge necessary to deal with it, so that part of this shift would come with all of that training. And I'll be quite honest, I think Dawn has a lot of that already because she's had to do so much of this in the transition period, but we'd want to formalize that too. And then authority, like I had said earlier, but really putting a point on it, authority to manage personnel matters. And this means just in real time, authority to send somebody home if there's a problem, or to bring on bring on somebody that needs to come pump out a septic tank or a sewer line, for example. Really the ability to manage that in real time without getting authority beyond what's legally required, right, for things like budget. This, Don, would continue at 1.0 FTE. And I think it would be helpful, if it's okay, to talk about the next few roles and then return to administration as a whole.
Okay,
Is that okay with folks?
yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, I think it'll make more sense to me. My concern is the title. The title is not representative of the bullet points.
I agree with you.
Okay,
The title piece is really just I didn't want to put a new title in here until it was something we were wanting to move forward with, just because of how budget line items are labeled, and if you make a change to it, you want to be really clear about what the change is. I'll also say that cities don't care as much about titles as they do about, number one, compensating folks for the work that they're doing, and two, ensuring that all of the things get done. So we can change titles, and I've got no issues with that whatsoever. But the structure is what I really was focusing on here.
agreed. Okay, thank you.
Absolutely.
I agree with Councilor Williams on this one.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, like we were talking about, I think Councilor Williams, you had mentioned a manager title. I have thought about things like finance manager or office manager. I've never been big on wordsmithing the titles, but I am big on the title matching the role. Other people are good at wordsmithing the titles. It's just never been something I'm good at. I want to talk about the next role, which is administrative assistant 2. So this is a new addition to our structure, and budget committee will see this in detail as well. But it's really separating the administrative assistant position into 2 pieces by design. And the administrative assistant 2 position is structured in a way that I think Councilor Williams and Councilor Ray, you're talking about with the title that we haven't shifted with Don's position. But it's, assistant 2 would be elevated above assistant 1. Utility billing clerk. So this would really be responsible for doing a lot of the things that Don has been doing over the last several years. The day-to-day, nitty-gritty work of utility billing. Accounts coordination. So this is things like correcting bills, making adjustments to bills, service changes, dealing with customer account inquiries, answering those. This would include things like also accounts payable. So invoices, data entry, payment preparation before it makes its way to the approval process. Records retention and document management. So this is in a large sense supporting that city recorder role with both complying with the rules and requirements. This person would need to have that same training. The end of the day, the direction comes from Don's role, but it gets delegated out to this individual who also manages documents, helps draft documents, things like that, as well as general administrative support. And then the administrative assistant 1 position. This is more forward thinking about things that we haven't really budgeted or factored into just our daily tasks up to this point, but need to happen. One is website editing, marketing materials, which could be as simple as the inserts in the billing. Right now, Dawn or myself are generally doing that. Amy's been doing that as well, actually. Advertising, or just simply communicating with the public. That would, of course, be in coordination with myself and or the mayor and Dawn. And that could even become what I would recommend to include support on social media, so that I think right now it's myself and the mayor who who own that, and it's why, you know, we do the best we can. But if we had monthly posts or weekly posts, and those were directed and coordinated by senior leadership, then we would have somebody executing that on a regular basis. And that could be as simple as posting what great stuff Public Works is doing or talking about big projects coming up. Customer support and engagement, so drafting notices, that's a big piece. And then document support as well, drafting and editing city records. So this is very much kind of complementing the last two roles, both Don's role, the accounting specialist currently, the administrative assistant 1 and administrative assistant 2 altogether.
I got a
won't go
question on
into-
that one.
Yeah.
So, how many hours is this looking at? On
It's
the
gonna be 20 hours
assistant
a week.
1.
Yeah.
How many?
20.
20? Okay. So I'm just, in the back of my mind, I'm thinking, you know, it'd be nice for one of these lower roles per se to maybe see if you can pull somebody from the high school to help them get their kind of feet wet in the system for future down the road for jobs.
Would love that if we could hire, like, we had talked about work study and other things that get a little hairy with insurance, which is why I've backed off of it a
Okay.
little bit because it didn't take priority. But what I love, I think what you're saying, Brian, is that what if we just hire like a senior, right? Not work
Yeah.
study, we just hire somebody.
Yeah.
If it's 20 hours a week, they might be able to work it into their work study, and that's their arrangement with their school. But at the end of the day, for us, they're an employee.
Yeah. And like, for example, for me, I worked 3 summers in a row for maintenance for Junction City. So
Yeah, exactly right. I really, really like that idea because it kind of leapfrogs the whole issue with having a special setup with a student. But it still does exactly that. It pulls the students that you're interested in having doing exactly this kind of work too that I've got on the screen.
and it pulls, you know, somebody from the local community to give them some sort of basic training before they decide to whether go to college or into a career.
Really like that, Brian. The other thing I'm thinking about is somebody who, you know, can hand the keys off to somebody else coming behind them. They don't need the health insurance. This isn't going to be a big issue. I kind of like that. Yeah, okay. Thoughts from other committee members?
No, I think it's a good idea. We've kind of talked about the work study piece. I don't think we've really gone into like hiring a senior as an example. But it is something that we need to extend that arm out to the school district. It has not been, we don't have a very good relationship with them. And this would be a great opportunity to maybe do something with it and make at least, you know, few students' lives a little better, maybe, you know, give them an opportunity for, you know, future, you know, career.
I
Mhm.
agree, and I think some of the topics that are covered under here, like website and marketing and advertising, would be a high school students. They would be something that they would have an interest in.
Yeah.
And probably
This
more
is like-
experience than us.
I don't know about that, but
Well, as far as they tend to be a little more tech savvy, you know what I mean? Like they're
Fair.
up to date with what's going on and how to get.
come on, Don, don't underrate yourself.
Don, you want to do a podcast, right?
Yeah, and they can do it faster too. It's not that I can update the website or create a flyer. It's just that they're oftentimes at that age native with that technology and those kinds of
Yeah.
skills today.
Oh yeah, that's the times nowadays.
Oh, yes.
Okay. So that, Dawn, I wanted to come back to your two questions, as well as other folks. If you see kind of how I've distributed out the roles, elevated Dawn to really a delegation and oversight role in coordination with me on things that are legally required, but really bringing our two administrative assistants in two different ways to support that.
I do see that overarching, but I do have a concern because Dawn would still be basically responsible for the budget component. And I worry
No.
about having that oversight and that delegation and that authority that might be burdensome at times.
No,
And to-
so Dawn is doing nothing different than she's doing right now.
okay.
And where I step in is what you're talking about. So the signatures and approvals over where things get coded to, and then the budget authority. So that's developing the budget, managing the budget, presenting it to council, working with Dawn as I am right now. But I'm not foisting all of that work. That needs to live with your city administrator. It must.
Okay.
But what does continue is Dawn's continuing to do all the things that she always has. And on this list, the budget tracking and financial operations is stuff that Dawn's always done, but we're baking in support for that role. So actually, she gets to offload some of those tasks where she hasn't previously. And Dawn, does that?
Yeah.
What are your thoughts, Dawn, on?
There's always two very busy seasons, and it's budget and audit season. And I do know that at TJ, I don't know if you plan on bringing up something else this afternoon. I had mentioned to yourself and Mayor Sheets, or if that's a later discussion, but there is potentially a way to support the more heavy, you know, I guess more intense situations where I need heavy concentration on what I'm doing and no interruptions.
Yeah.
These two roles would be able to help support that though, because there are times where I'm catering to the auditor all day. But the budget and the audit have always been busy times of the year for me. I've done payroll in the past. It's just something I would be taking back on, but like TJ pointed out, I would be getting some support in some of these other areas.
Okay. And,
Dawn, I
and
do
this
want to. Go ahead.
feels like you would be comfortable taking on this new, it's not really new, it's just more streamlined, it sounds like.
Yeah, and there would be some adjustments to make because right now I do go to TJ for a lot of the final decisions and I may just out of habit now, go to him and be like, hey, what do I do? And he'll be like, that's a you thing now.
Yeah. It's a great learning opportunity.
Yes. Well, and also.
Sounds like to me that, go ahead. I was gonna say, it sounds like to me, it's just more she's in line with taking care of the critical items and achieving help when needed, and some of the other items that aren't as critical or taken over by the other two positions.
That's exactly right. So the way I want to explain this is it's giving Dawn two things that she really needs to actually do her finance role. One is the time that she needs to do that without burdening her with a lot of other just daily stuff that honestly anybody could do. And the second thing is space to do this job. And that's where I want to touch on. Thank you, Dawn, for reminding me. So one of the things that I'd like to be able to provide for Dawn, that's the reason we bought laptops in the very beginning, was really a quiet day of the week, or at least the flexibility and the ability to have the discretion to say this is going to be an at-home work day for me because I've got X, Y, Z to do with the auditors, and we have coverage at City Hall, and really you need that time and space to work on things that are critical. I'll be honest with you. Part of the reason I got the budget done well and properly is because I wasn't in the office, and I was actually reflecting on that a little bit just today. I'll tell you that having that focused space is really valuable. So in addition to clearing some of the time off of Dawn's plate, I would very much like the personnel committee's support in bringing to council a formal proposal to adjust that position description to allow for at-home work for maybe something like a day a week.
No, I don't have any sort of issue with that at all. I understand.
I don't either.
Yeah, I mean.
Me neither.
My own profession, I could not do it in the office. There is no way. People would be stopping by my cube or my office all day talking to me. And I can't get any work done.
That's the piece, and I did think about, just assuming TJ's desk for now, but here's the issue. There are times when I'm sitting there and right now Mark's office is shared with TJ's. And then he has his crew, and then Ron wants to come in. I mean, people want to talk. I mean, I get that, but it can be very distracting. And if you're in the middle of something and you're just on a roll, and then they come up and want to have a conversation, like, oh, shoot, where was I?
I know, right? No, I understand that.
Yeah.
I'm hoping that, hopefully, cross your fingers here, we'll see what happens with budget committee. By peeling off the court clerk and streamlining everything else, that things will be easier and you'll be able to get the job done in less time.
So one of the things you
So-
guys I mentioned. Go ahead, Brian. Sorry.
I was gonna mention, well, what popped in my head is we got all that space next door that's just storage. And I mean, in the future, down the road, maybe we could think of making another little spot for these budget area, working on budget stuff or the long-term stuff to where she can go and hide, or even at home is fine with me, but.
Yep, I think both. It's a yes and I think on that for me.
Yep.
I want to definitely improve the working space. That's always something we're trying to strive towards, and I
Yep.
want to create that that latitude for Dawn to work at home. The one thing that I wanted to mention, by the way, I told you my goals here. Support long-term financial stability on that first slide. We're optimizing efficiency in a way where we're saving, and I'll don't quote me on this. Budget committee can quote me when we get there, but I think it's like $60,000 a year in labor costs with this structure.
What?
Yeah,
Are you saying because of part-time versus full-time roles, is that? Well, part of it is part-time versus full-time roles and really streamline what they're working on.
that's exactly right. That's exactly right. And it's also streamlining what I'm working on, and where you need me focused rather than spinning my wheels doing things that we could delegate to really a team of people structured in a way where it makes it kind of just work a little bit better. Getting rid of court helped, optimizing efficiencies over this last year. Don, we've done so much to change the way that we communicate and the way we process things. Yeah, I think that's a lot of why we're where we are right now. Okay, so finally, Public Works. Here's Mark, Public Works 2. He's the lead. I wanted to point your attention to the fourth bullet, permitting and compliance. That's, a sit-down desk-related task. Development Review Committee. That is a sit-down desk-related task, as is Public Works Committee. And so what I'm intentionally doing, and this may honestly warrant a job title change for Mark too. He earned his certifications. He will be talking about that as well. But I think, yes.
Sorry to interrupt. I thought we got rid of the Public Works Committee. We just have the Parks Committee now. Or
Parks
and
Committee.
Beautification. Parks
That's what I meant. It was late, and I typed that in at the last minute, right before this meeting. I added that.
Okay.
Thank you for that correction.
Yeah.
That is what I meant. And what I'm trying to do is I would like for him to be more of a public works director, especially since he has his certifications now, to have Chuck as an advisor, but not a necessary legal component of the city. We want him to help. We don't want to kick him out, but Mark has earned and received those credentials and has that experience now. So I want to pull him into the office a little bit, start to give him more exposure to engineers, start to give him more exposure to infrastructure review. He'll continue, back to the top of the list there, he'll continue doing public works. The buck stops with him in terms of operating public works. Water distribution, as well as sewer operations and collections. Those three are really the core of what Mark does every day most of these last several years, and he'll keep doing that. But similar to the office team, you'll see how I've delegated out roles to help, and we've already done that piece too with Public Works before, not new. The piece to point out, permitting and compliance, we've talked about this, but it's worth saying. I continue to own that responsibility. You saw that where I show I'm still responsible for bilateral compliance and things in the infrastructure systems. So Mark's not by himself there, But what he is doing is he's doing the majority of the legwork to get the reports prepared, to coordinate with the agencies, to understand what needs to be submitted, and to have meetings with me or with Chuck or with those agencies or all the above, to get where we need to get to submit those documents. So he's really in charge of it, leading up to, over these next couple years, taking it on 100%, which is what, for example, Chuck does right now at Harrisburg. But, you know, rather than foist all of that right now, I'll continue as the city administrator, especially since we're doing all these projects and we want to stay in the good graces, of course, of all of these agencies. I'll continue to support that role. Utility worker one.
I just have one question.
Yes.
You had mentioned that the lead position for Public Works. That position historically has been a very, not a desk type job. And so how much more desk work are we looking at? And would Mark be comfortable with that type of work? Is that something that he would enjoy doing?
Yeah, we have talked about this extensively in our one-on-ones. I'm already pulling him into a lot of this now. So he's probably got, in a 40-hour week, probably has 5 hours of desk work right now. It was a little bit more. It might have been closer to 10 up till this point, and that's only because we allocated an hour a day for certification testing, studying. But yes, Mark is very excited about this. I'll be honest, I think he has felt maybe excluded in a lot of these tasks in the past. He should have been developed as a staff member, as somebody who's growing and learning and becoming a director level, and that hasn't happened. He's been sort of stunted by administration in the past, and so my goal is to take him into the office and learn these things. He's very excited about it, and we have the capacity to do it.
Awesome. Thank you.
My 2 cents on that too is, I know you say desk role, but I know that a lot of that's actually going to be still, or I shouldn't say a lot of it, some of it is still going to be in the field, but dealing with, like you said, engineers and whatnot, but not actually on a mower or a piece of equipment or read meter type stuff.
Yep, exactly right. That's exactly right. And Mark's in his mid-30s. You know, I remember feeling that in my mid-30s, like, man, I'm kind of glad I'm not out there doing all that. You know, I don't know, maybe. So I feel you. I think that that's going to be helpful for him. Dawn, do you have thoughts on this? You know Mark much better than I do, and I know that you've had an opportunity to talk with him about some of this
I
stuff.
think it's helped considerably that you've been there too. And you've done this with both Mark and myself. You've kind of did a slow transition with us on some of these reportings, and you included us when you were doing it, and then you would have us do it with assistants. So you're kind of baby stepping us into these roles more or less. And so it's not just, plopping it on our laps without any type of experience. He's been doing some of these compliance reports with your assistants already. And like the TTHM report, I noticed the last time he did it was much more comfortable, much smoother, much quicker. I haven't heard anything negative about it at this point. He just needs good help that can be there to mow the lawns and take care of other situations so that he can properly do these pieces.
Understood. Thank you for your input.
Yeah.
And I wanted to mention, since we're talking about Mark, he might not hear the recording later, but I'll mention him anyway. I want to congratulate him for getting his, looks like this is water operator certification, distribution level 1. I want to congratulate him on getting that, and keep going, Mark. We are 100% behind you.
I second that. Definitely.
And that means that we'll talk tonight just as a semi-formal action to recommend that Mark gets his guaranteed raise based on the fact that it's been certified now too at the state.
Yep.
So that's Mark continuing to do his work, high level stuff, but doing some more things like I think that's going to be good for him as a leadership role. Utility worker 1. So I'm really happy we're bringing on a new guy who's really excited to come on board, and he's got a lot of skill, I can already tell, in delegating and leadership. It's going to become valuable out in the field, especially as we grow our public works team over the years to come. This would be a 0.75 FTE, so 30 hours a week, still eligible for insurance, but they would focus on public works under Mark, assist with water distribution, assist with water operations, assist with sewer operations, and have really oversight of facilities and grounds. So while Mark really kind of can set the direction for the week or the month or the season, I'd like for this person to be really responsible for that, for taking that direction from Mark and executing it through themselves doing work and delegating that work out to their counterpart, who we can talk about next. So a second public utility worker one at 0.5 FTE, so half time. This is George right now. This particular position really wouldn't be responsible for things like operating machinery or using heavy equipment, things like that. They'd really be kind of a bridge between the full-time public works support person, the public works utility worker one, and Ron, right? So they'd be there to take on some of those heavier tasks, in particular around grounds maintenance, facilities maintenance, getting up on ladders, cutting, lifting, things like that, assisting with building janitorial support, assisting with event setup. As you know, we've changed our structure and our fees, which means we had to account for, of course, staff being available to do that work. And then with Ron, he's continuing to do all the stuff that he's always done at 10 hours a week. And that's, of course, grounds maintenance, building janitorial work, and assist with events setup. So that's the end of Public Works, going from Mark all the way to Ron. Any questions on that, y'all?
Not for me.
No, I'm good.
I'm good.
The one thing to note is that we are 0.1 FTE greater than our current budget in the Public Works team. So, and that was intentional because we may have shifting in roles. We may lose somebody at some point in time. It's in the budget just in case we need to use it. Okay, final piece here. I'll start off by telling you our planning contract for this past year was $25,000. We need an engineer. They're going to do a lot of things that are really critical, especially at this juncture for the city. One is really critical. That's development review. So that's making decisions as the city appointed engineer, as a professional engineer, the PE. Their decisions, basically their stamp and what they instruct applicants to do, that's what the bread and butter. That's really what a city hires an engineer to do, if nothing else. Secondly, development review committee. That's paying them to spend an hour with an applicant like our 26-unit subdivision or Depot Street or some of the challenging projects that aren't just simply residential. And we've been doing this now for several months, and I think Brian might have dropped off again because I got somebody trying to pop in. Hold on one second. Where did he go? Oh, he's on the screen. Yep. Brian, are you back?
Yeah, I'm back. I don't know if it's a timer thing or what it is, but it's like kicks me out every so often. Thank you.
Yeah, no worries. Brian, did you hear me talking about the engineering stuff at all?
Yes, sir. It was right towards the end of
Okay.
it when it got kicked out.
Oh, beautiful. Wow, you got back in quick. Good. So they'll be, he'll be present, our engineer will be present at those meetings to support applicants. Where that becomes valuable is him being able to tell them 6 months ahead of when they might find out accidentally that you need to plan for this pipe or do this particular thing on the street. The applicants get very upset when they don't hear those things, and I'm not an engineer. And so having them at the table is helpful. Also, another really big piece for us is capital infrastructure. So sitting on the committee that selects the engineer that's going to design the water treatment plant upgrades, for example, our engineer doesn't do that work. He's a daily engineer, but he will sit on the committee and speak engineer language to make sure that we select a competent and capable team. He'll also, after we select that person, be available to review their work so that there's just somebody double checking and making sure that it passes, again, from engineers' perspective, the sniff test on what they should be doing. I've allocated $75,000 to this, and you'll also notice separately I've added significantly more funds to our other contracted services, and that likely would, if anything, tap into the engineer if necessary. Altogether, there could be potentially up to 100,000. We'll talk to the council about how we want to structure the contract, but we want an engineer of record on board long term. And I think that 75,000 is a great place to start as a minimum to hit all these things that I've talked about here. And I also just provided a distribution of what funds that service would be billed to, so that you can see what they'd be doing. And this is really an accurate representation. About 5% to general administration. That's just basic paperwork, stuff like that. Streets, about 10%. 70% the lion's share in water, 5% in storm, and about 10% in sewer. But altogether, we're tripling that contract compared to last year in preparation for all this work we have coming up. I think that's the last slide I have too. So that actually is the last staff person, contracted or otherwise, on the team.
Question.
TJ?
Yes.
TJ, will we be getting a copy of this, just for, or will this be going to council and then we'll kind of button everything up and have, a clearer description of what each person's role will entail?
Yes. So my request from budget committee, or not budget committee, brains in another place, personnel committee, is really the discussion that we've had tonight. I wanted to see if there were things that you all wanted to discuss or recommend, and we've gotten through those with a lot of these roles. With your blessing, I'd like to bring this to the city council for a work session where we'll talk through it, see if there's any changes the full council wants to make, and then we'll formalize new position descriptions, new titles as well, alongside the budget process.
That sounds
I got
good.
one question.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
What do you considering long term for the city engineer?
I sense you're maybe wondering if we'd ever hire somebody.
Well, I'm questioning, the only reason because I know we got these big projects, which is going to take, obviously a bigger budget. But once these big projects kind of get weaned down in the next 3 years, let's say.
Oh, yep, that's true. It can go two ways, Brian. One is that after 3 years, there isn't a lot for the engineer to do.
Mm-hmm.
And we reduce the contract appropriately. And the other is that we build all this infrastructure, expand the urban growth boundary, and we essentially put a sign on the wall that really does, tell folks that there's land available and a competent city that is wanting to work with them. And we potentially have a lot of work for the engineer. And if that were the case, sir, I would say the city at that point in time would be growing, have more revenue, and would want to consider a full-time engineer to join the Public Works Department, most likely.
Yeah, with the plan you're talking about there, I could potentially see a 10, 15 year kind of window.
Yep. I completely agree with you. Time will tell, but I think for this budget, we need the 75,000. And like I said, I padded the other contracted services because I was just a little worried that we could not have enough, and I don't want to be in that spot.
Sounds good.
I think this all sounds really good. I think we're building out our team, and we're looking to the future, and I'm very excited. So kudos, good job, TJ.
No, and I want to clarify too. This was a shared role. Don teed this up. We worked together, and so Don, you're in the room. Thank you for your support and help on this, and all your experience and knowledge about the city has been incredibly invaluable.
Yeah, thanks for, taking the initiative to help Mark and I truly grow in our roles. We have been so spread thin, these past years that, like you said, I didn't receive the training or really could even concentrate on my finance role to its full potential. So when you came in, I really didn't feel like I was in a true finance role. It was a lot of utility billing and other items that I shouldn't have been spending my time on still, but, you're doing what you can to help us grow. We really appreciate it.
Exciting, you guys. It's really exciting to be part of this, and thank you, committee. I think what I'm hearing is that this is ready to present to the full council.
Yes, I'd like to make that recommendation that we bring basically this presentation to the full council for review.
I'd second that recommendation.
Great, sir. Mayor Sheets.
No, I agree. I was just gonna mention that, just a brief comment here. I have to say that this city is not anything without Mark and Don. When we lost our city administrator last year and I was having to step in where I could, when I could, both of them, they stepped up to the plate and they took it on. And I was just completely impressed with everything they did. So I appreciate everything that they've done.
I second that, sir. I wanted. Go ahead. Sorry.
No, I was gonna say also, that looking at this budget and looking at the roles, I mean, I haven't seen the budget, but we've talked about it now. And I've seen the roles now. I feel like we're going in the right direction. We're moving forward. We're getting ourselves in a position where I feel like we're doing things the right way, the way that they should have always been done. And that makes me feel a lot better about the future here.
For sure.
With Don and Mark, I just wanted to mention, there's a lot of cities I've been in them where you don't have a lot of dedicated staff. It's kind of a job, and we've got a team here of people who really care, and that has made my job possible. It's made my job fun. No, I second all of that and really appreciate our team. Were you gonna say something too, Brian? I think I might have cut you off there.
Oh, no, you're good. I think what you did was you came in and you kind of awoke in what needed to be done and let the people that can do it and help support them.
That's the goal.
Yep. So, looks like we might have a few other things here on the agenda before we're done, but it looks like the next item here under budget considerations is cost of living adjustments or COLAs.
Don, you want to take it away? Just kind of give the and I'm going to put my screen up so people can see the agenda. But do you want to start with COLA?
Sure. So cost of living adjustments, we figured in 3%. That's a little on the, I'd say mid-level, higher end of what the COLA could be. We really don't know what it is as of right now, obviously. We want to figure in plenty when we're doing our budget so that we don't have shortages. Along with that, though, there are merit increases that we have annually in certain roles, if not all roles. And then we also have certifications earned. And with that certifications earned piece also, I know that Mark had mentioned there's different dates. He had actually got his certification, I believe it was on April 1st, and then the state recognized it on May 6th. So there was some questioning there on when we wanted to formally recognize that and give him his, I believe it's 50 cents grade. Correct me if I'm wrong, TJ. So with all these different things, we're just really trying to figure out in total what we need to consider when doing our budget for our staff. Public Works is going to be a little bit different with the certifications piece. I would imagine it might be Mark and maybe the Public Works utility one, that's the 30 hours a week. So theirs will be a little bit different, but in general, how we should go about budgeting that out so we make sure we have enough room for growth.
Thanks, Don. You see that up beautifully. What I would add for the committee's consideration and feedback is, it is like Don said, it is possible that the new guy could get a certification this year. He could just slip in because you can get it in 1 year, and he's starting before the budget formally goes forward. So he could actually slide in at the end of the budget year. That's a 50-cent increase. Cost of living adjustments, like Don said, 3% for simply COLA, but then merit increases, where I encouraged this committee and you supported this last year, was up to 5% on the table for merit, in addition to the guaranteed 3%. I've structured about close to a 10% increase compared to last year for all positions. So of course, some of that takes into account somebody might work an hour overtime here or there. We try not to have that happen, but especially in Public Works, it's possible. But in general, I've tried to go for a 10% above last year, so that we can factor in 3% COLA, 5% merit, possibly a little extra for our new guy for certs. Okay, go. What are your thoughts?
I have no issue.
So the merit's at 5% for all positions?
Well, up to 5.
Up to, it's like what we did before. We do the review, and there's a score of 5. Nobody gets a perfect. Because,
Okay.
so honestly, nobody's gonna get the full 5%. Just to be honest, but somebody will get, like Don, I think, got close to 4, and Mark got close to 4.
Yeah.
For
Yeah,
the
I
merit.
just, you do this to me every time you say 5%, and I'm like, oh my God. I mean,
I'll take
Okay.
5%.
yeah, me too.
Yeah, and in reality, I think inflation is right now, it's well above that. The average in a nice time is 3%, but in reality, the last couple of years it's been 10, sometimes more. To the extent where the state
definitely.
had to put a cap on how much housing prices were legally allowed to be increased, because they allowed it for CPI plus inflation, and inflation was so high that it went way higher than their intended percentage increase per year. So I hear where you're coming from, but also it's merit based. And so if you've got an employee that's kicking butt, it really drives them to continue kicking butt. And if you got somebody who's not, it drives them to start.
True that. I hear you. Okay. Sounds good to me.
And with this piece too, I think we're also questioning, correct me if I'm wrong, TJ, the difference of, in the past, Mark had mentioned that until his certifications were state recognized, looks like it was a little over a month after he had earned it, if he was being paid that 50-cent increase based on when he earned it or when the state recognized it.
What's the gap between that, Don? It's not long, right? It actually came.
So it was April 1st and then May 6th is when the state recognized it. He was asking though if he was going to be getting paid based on the April 1st date or the May 6th date.
Right.
It is a month, okay. And we'll need to set a policy. So the personnel committee is being asked to set a precedent for all future certifications.
So question. So he takes the test, he passes it, and he knows on April 1st that he passed it and he's gonna be certified.
And my understanding is he actually does get the certification on that date. One of the forms,
Okay.
I
It's
have
been
it
here
for you,
in the packet.
is his actual,
Oh, I see it right here.
yeah. He got certified, but the state didn't recognize it until May sixth, because then he has to submit it to the state and they recognize
I
it.
see that. I see this one on
So it's,
first and this one's May 6th.
it's really just the state recognizing his certification that he received.
Oh, boy.
I know he had mentioned that, the former CA tended to go with the date the state recognized it. I don't know if it was cleaner or why. I really don't know. He questioned it though.
So here's the deal. The state technically could reject the certification. I asked Chuck about this. He doesn't know of anybody ever not getting the recognition. The way I understand it, it's sort of similar to you filing your taxes on April 15th and then the IRS sends you an email that says they accepted it. Thanks, I had to do it anyway, right? I mean, the hard part was done. My view, I have no problem with it happening on the date that it was received versus accepted. Just be aware that I guess in some universe, there's a tiny micro percentage possibility that it could maybe not get certified by the state.
I think we just need to have proof, which he'll get. It sounds like he gets that.
Yeah, he provided that to us. And I
Yeah.
can always have a policy in place too, eventually, stating what would happen if it did for some reason not get accepted by the
Right,
state.
then you just did.
Yeah.
You correct it. It's fine. It's a book.
Give you-
Back there, but yeah.
So I'll give you an example. Granted, I don't work for the state, but like for us, when we have like say a maintenance guy or electrician or whatever going through programs, or I went through the maintenance program, but once you get through the program and once you actually take the test and once it's been certified and they send the notify the employer that he has passed the certification, he's good to go. That's the time and it starts at. I don't know if that helps any or not.
Yeah, it does. So we're looking for a recommendation from Personnel Committee, and you can make it an action if you want to. I don't know how formal you want to get, but we just need direction to implement it moving forward, and we can formalize that as a policy as well. If you feel like that should go to council, maybe that's your recommendation to bring it to council for a decision, unless you as the committee feel you want to make that decision now. I'm fine with either direction.
So what do you, Councilor Williams and Councilor Ray, are you thinking when he takes certification, he passes and gets that initial certificate on the day of the test and passing it, or are you thinking when the actual formal acknowledgement from the state happens?
I'm actually leaning towards when the state formally acknowledges it. I think it's going to be cleaner across the board, no matter what happens, and we don't have to, write it a certain way. And technically, he wouldn't have been able to fall back on that certification and do any operation with it until he was recognized by the state anyway.
Absolutely right. So the work that you're doing, that you're getting paid for, can't start until you get recognition. Councilor Williams, your logic is absolutely flawless. I completely agree.
I concur with Councilor Williams.
I agree. Well,
Got it.
so we'll bring it to council as a recommendation that we recognize, once the state recognizes the certification is when we can go ahead and do the, start paying him him or her, the increase. From getting the.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Thank you, committee.
Okay, what else do we have? Anything else?
No, actually, I just stopped sharing my screen. That was the last item on the list.
TJ, did you want to mention anything about our new hire to the committee while we're here?
Or the current part-time admin assistant. Do we need to discuss any of that this afternoon? Amy?
The with Peach, go ahead, Don. Which piece are you talking?
The potential summer difference in schedule and or what she'll, like, there's gonna be a difference in her role potentially during the summer, it sounds like.
Oh, thank you. So I received a request. This is exactly the kind of request, by the way, that Dawn would take ownership of with the new structure. But I received an email from Amy that requested to work from home full time or for all 20 hours per week from June until September. And I was unfortunately unable to accommodate that. I did speak with the mayor, I did speak with Dawn, and my own feeling about it was the position description was just really clear about this being an in office position. We need the person to be present, and also working from home is not a replacement really for childcare, and that was the big piece, is to be present and available with Amy's child. Yeah, I completely understand the situation, but I could not say yes to that. What I did tell Amy is that we do need, as we talked about, somebody running meetings. And so if she wanted to run the meetings at night, obviously flex her schedule so those are hours that she's not in the office during the day. And the fact that we're bringing on another part-time person allows us to potentially make that work. But I also told her I'd speak with the mayor and Dawn, and thank you, Dawn. I do think it's a good idea to bring this up with this committee. My personal feeling is we need somebody there at night to run those meetings. But other than that, we'll still need Amy in the office for all of the other hours during the week.
So how many hours in the evening are we anticipating for her?
It's not a lot. It's a total of like 12 hours, 20 hours a month. So maybe a quarter of her time total.
Is that, do we have any idea if that's even gonna be worthwhile for her?
I don't know. What I'm able to do is hear the request, respond to it, offer a reasonable solution, and hand that back to the staff member to consider. And if if it's not reasonable or possible for Amy, then she may, like any other employee, have to prioritize family, right? I don't know.
Okay. So kind of in a wait and see holding pattern right now.
Right. I'm okay with, and there's a question for this committee is are you okay with Amy flexing her schedule where she's doing what we need her to during the meetings at night? We can only pay her for 20 hours. So it's kind of a given if she's kind of exclusively the meeting person rather than having several or two staff people, the two admin assistants sharing that role.
I mean, I personally don't have an issue with it, but Councilor Williams and Councilor Ray, what do you think?
So help me, with your PowerPoint presentation, what role is she currently? So she would be admin assistant 2?
She would be admin assistant 1, and so attending meetings, just running the computer, taking notes, and meeting minutes.
Yeah, I mean, I don't see any problems with, I think the suggestion you provided to her was perfect. I hope she takes it, and if she doesn't, then I hope she finds something that works for her.
So TJ, there is one other thing, and counselors, I did think about this today, and this may be a little ways out. One of the roles under Mark may eventually need a laptop. Right now, we have one additional laptop. If we have Amy doing this role in the afternoons, would she then be able to bring that laptop back to City Hall and have 2 users on the same laptop? Would they be sharing that one, or would we have to purchase another? I don't know if that's an immediate concern or not, but
We've got it.
okay.
So
I didn't know if
so we have-
Jacob would be using a laptop in the immediate future for
He will.
email correspondence or anything.
He will, but we've got it. It's me, you, Mark, Amy and Jacob. We've got 5 laptops total. There's still 2 more unopened in the safe.
Oh, okay,
Um,
okay.
and that's why we bought 5, so that we structured it so that this person would have maybe a little more computer work.
Yeah, I thought we had bought 5 too.
Yep, yeah, indeed, and
So-
it's hanging out there waiting for him.
So I'm trying to understand this. So she will not be doing any office time?
She will. I cannot
Oh, okay.
authorize her to just not come in. You know, if she wants to
Okay.
flex her time. So if today she's going to be budget committee, for example, a good idea. She'll be there for 3 hours, 4 hours for that day because it's a council meeting
Okay.
too. She can just not come into the office that day, but that's not forever and it's not every day.
Okay, because I'm going to say that's the reason why we kind of have her there is to help the flex so Dawn can concentrate on the larger items.
That's correct.
Yeah, no, absolutely. That's working retail from home. Like
Yeah.
you deal with the public directly. It's what we need you to do.
Yeah.
Well, and I have my own concerns around security as well, so I feel it's important that we have 2 folks up front most of the time in City Hall. Just things have happened in the past. It's better if we have 2 folks there most of the time.
Agreed.
And like you're saying, you're looking at a 3rd part-time person, so, or I should say a 2nd part-time person, so it may all work out in the end.
I think it will. Amy, I'm really kind of looking at as the person to help do. She's doing website stuff right now and some of the updates, so she's going to fill in that role at the moment. And if it like Councilor Williams said really succinctly, I hope it works out for her, and I do think she'll try to make it work.
Agreed.
Was there another item, Dawn, that you mentioned?
No, I think you mentioned something though. No, what it was.
I don't know what we want to bring up,
Recent events.
recent events or not.
Yes, sir. I think it's probably a good idea. You and I discussed some of this today, but I'd like the wisdom of a larger group of people.
Okay.
Do you want me to kick it off, sir?
Yeah, I'm gonna let you do it. I might get a little frustrated.
So what we have is a pattern with a particular employee, and this pattern does not have anything that we know of to do with impairment or disability or inability. But what we have found is that our team member, our temporary public works utility worker, George, in the 4 months he's been with us. I think that's right, because Chuck left in January. 4 months he's been with us. We've had as many incidents. One of them, we won't put dollar signs on it because sir, I owe you a conversation tomorrow about the tractor. But the most recent one was, an issue where the tractor is unfortunately in a state where it's incapacitated, and we need to have a professional fix it.
This is the new tractor back.
The brand
Oh,
new.
you're kidding me.
No, we're not kidding.
Has 19
Oh.
hours.
Is it the tractor or is it the attachment that's jacked up?
Tractor itself.
Oh no, it's the
Oh.
tractor.
Oh my
You're
gosh.
kidding me.
You guys, you don't. This will be another conversation that the full council is going to get the opportunity to hear about, because we just heard about it a little bit ago. But there's dollars and time that we need to talk about with the tractor and fixing it. What this committee, personnel committee, needs to be aware of is part of the reason I've put George into a role where he does nothing that has a motor or plugs in or has any significant amount of machinery, and that role is going to stay that way long term. Whoever's in that particular position is really going to be, like I said, the bridge between our full-time utility worker 1 and Ron. That's how I'm mitigating the risk right now, so there won't be another incident. we have no proof that there was anything that led to this other than maybe bad luck or however else you'd like to describe it. But the question is, does the committee recommend any action at this point of any kind in light
Well-
of this pattern?
Well, so there's this incident.
We need a-
And there's two other incidents as well.
Oh yeah.
So my 2 cents on this matter is I'm sure we don't have a policy and we need to make a policy, any property damage that there is a drug test.
We have a policy. I checked with CIS on this. It is the same verbiage that's used everywhere. And the
It's
policy,
standard.
we're not legally allowed to just randomly drug test somebody when there's an incident like that. It must be because there's an observable reason associated with it, that somebody observed the person using a substance or doing something unsafe or not wearing their seatbelt or something wrong in that.
Okay.
So as I mentioned, there were two other incidents. One was with, well, the other two were with city trucks. One of
Yeah, I
them-
know, he hit the,
Yeah, there was significant damage on one of those trucks. But that was an insurance claim that we used to take care of those repairs. I don't remember what happened with the other truck. Was there any damage, TJ?
It was
There was
minimal.
There was a little bit of damage, and there was one other incident, a small one too. I'm forgetting what it. No, maybe I'm wrong, but I mean they're stacking up. You know, that's the message for the committee and just for y'all to be aware of at minimum. And if you want to direct staff to take any action, make any inquiries, bring it to another body like the city council, that's your direction opportunity for us now.
Yeah,
So-
I'd like to raise awareness to city council so that they can weigh in on this, because I think it needs to be looked at a higher level with more eyes and more minds involved in it.
Okay.
So once again, on my end, I mean, working where I work, I've worked in the safety advocate role at my work for 3 years. And so you start seeing a pattern. You have to ask yourself why there's a pattern. And if we've had a good discussion with him and try to figure out, is it home life? Is it medication? Is it just he's not getting it? But at a certain point, unfortunately, which you've done, taking him out of the position of running motorized equipment. Otherwise, we could be looking at a death, which is even worse. So,
And it might be.
I mean, I don't,
Causing others more of a burden, having to, like, how's he going to get around the city itself to do these other tasks?
yeah, you're
If
going
he's
to
not
create
operating
more,
equipment.
yeah, more undue stress for other employees. Now they've got to worry about him and worry about checking on him, you know. He may be a cool dude and everything, but the reality is it's a safety factor.
100%. So again, I wanted this committee to know, as you just summarized there, Brian. We've removed the risk. He no longer is going to be doing any task that involves anything that could hurt a person severely, or himself, or the equipment. And we can we can definitely discuss this with council in terms of policy verbiage. I would caution against discussing the individual or the situation in a
Yeah.
full council meeting, but I would strongly recommend having a conversation about, hey, in this situation, do we want to button up our policy manual to address it?
Understood. Yep, agreed.
Yeah.
Okay. What I might suggest, part of this has to do with budget coming up. Part of this has to do with it being fully baked before it goes to council. I might suggest that we revisit that in this body with more detail next month. Get through what that policy recommendation might be. so we can at least give the full council something to think about or a proposal, not necessarily a recommendation, but just some thoughts. That's something to consider. What do you all think about that?
I'm aligned.
Are you wanting to do this in a work session then?
Yeah, but rather than bringing
Okay.
it to this work session in 2 weeks from now, I think that we might want to fully bake it in committee.
Okay.
Well, we probably will have more details by then too, so.
Yeah. So we can leave it there then.
Okay.
Don, is there anything else?
Nothing else I have noted, so.
All right, sir, I
Okay.
hand it back over to you.
So, Jacob, sounds like he might be starting here pretty soon.
Tomorrow,
Tomorrow or Friday?
tomorrow.
Tomorrow, really?
Yes, we have both background and drug screen results. Both are great.
Okay, wonderful.
Did you already talk with him?
We did.
Dawn?
Yeah, Mark and I did this morning.
Okay, that's okay. Good deal. Mark and I had a discussion, and I don't think I communicated it with you. Not a big deal. My first thought was bring him on Friday because I wasn't expecting everything right away, and maybe having a little more time in between. But it's not the end of the world. I think. Do we have everything buttoned up? We have every box checked for him.
As far as, before he comes in
Onboarding?
and does his I-9 and there, yeah, he's ready to, complete onboarding tomorrow on his first day. Everything else has to kind of be done in office. But he's already done his I-9 actually even. He just needs to sign his personal handbook, and get his W-4 in. That's it.
Okay, I'm in line with that. That sounds fine to me. Thanks for the update. I had mentioned to the mayor what I had told Mark that we were going to wait until Friday, but this works out fine. Thank you.
Great. Very good. Exciting. Okay, that was it?
He's
That's all?
ready. Thank you, sir. I was just gonna tell you he's a great employee, and y'all are really gonna, I think, like him, and Mark likes him a lot too.
Very good. I know Mark is very stoked about Jacob on board.
Very.
Okay, well, I'm gonna go ahead and adjourn if there's nothing else.
We're good. Thank you.
By the way, you see where this is where I'm having my meeting tonight. So
Goodness.
Oh, that's
Yeah,
a hard
it's
life,
lucky.
Counselor
I
Ray.
know it's tough right now, but you know what can I say? I mean,
I'm glad
the
you're
hot
having a good time.
Yeah,
The hot
don't
tub's warm.
bother yourself,
That's hilarious.
uh,
Y'all
Have a good evening.
All right, thank you.
Talk to
Thank
later.
you.
Bye.
Good night.
Good night.
Bye.